basketball fans? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Putback, episode 15, with Nolan and Jack here with you. Hey, we took a couple weeks off. You know, life gets in the way, people get busy, but we're here to talk some more basketball. Plenty of stuff is going on in the NBA world. NBA Cup is starting to really get close to the finish here in Vegas. And, of course, one of the biggest topics is the NBA All-Star Game. That is ever so approaching. Still got a couple months out. That won't be till late February. But nonetheless, you know, the voting is starting to really pick up. You can kind of tell who is etching their name into maybe a guaranteed All-Star spot for the NBA. But before we get into all that, make sure you go check out stadiumrant.com. We got plenty of stuff going on over there. Jack right here does his own NBA articles, so go check those out over on the brand new website. It looks great. And then check out all of our other original shows we got going on and our team-centric NFL podcast that we got going on right now. So plenty of stuff to look forward to here at Stadium Rant. Make sure you check out all of it. And we already got a comment. And, of course, it's the GOAT, JC. Okay, thank you for tuning in, JC. Absolutely. Well, before we get into the All-Star talk, let's do our player of the week here for the Putback. And I think it deserves a couple of clips for video evidence as to why this guy is player of the week. So, evidence number one.
I hope these New York fans find their way to the exit real quick. Boo, take y'all ass home.
So there's video number one, and that was a few weeks ago. And here's evidence number two as Trae Young knocks the New York Knicks out of the NBA Cup running and puts the Atlanta Hawks into Vegas.
What do you think? You say Trae take it?
Go to Vegas, baby. Roll that bones.
Rolling seven.
Roll that bones, baby.
Rolling.
Yes,
Lucky
sir.
seven.
Pick them up. You're a winner.
I love it. I love it.
Roll of the dice from Trae Young as they knock out the Knicks. So, man, do the New York Knicks hate the player of the week here on the Putback. Go ahead, throw the logo up there. Throw it up. Player of the week, Trae Young, 22 points, 11 assists to knock him out. We'll give him player of the week. There's not a lot of action going on unless your teams are still actively in the NBA Cup. But, Jack, how you feeling about the play of Trae Young as the surprising Atlanta Hawks make their way into the NBA Cup quarterfinals, I believe, in Vegas?
Yeah, not just Trae Young. Like you said, the Hawks as a whole have been very surprising, and you know, no one would have predicted them to get this far in this tournament. But it's been awesome to see what they've been doing. I've been loving the play of not just Trae on the playmaking, but also you know, DeAndre Hunter off the bench has been scoring in bucket loads. Jalen Johnson's been excellent this whole season. So yeah, it's great to see from a team that lost to DeJounte Murray how they've bounced back, and they're sitting above 500 right now. So yeah, they're looking good early season.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to see Atlanta trying to really put something together here is pretty cool. Just because you know, they're so up and down, a lot of 500 basketball, but they're doing good right now. But that's not why we're here. We just had to give Trae Young his flowers, and as JC says, meth Curry. That's wild. That is absolutely wild to call him Meth Curry. But we're here to talk about the NBA All-Star Game. Throw that thumbnail up there, okay? So this is some of our early candidates. Me and Jack will throw these out, kind of go back and forth as to who we think might be locks from both conferences here. And again, to refresh your mind, if you haven't read any articles on this, the NBA announced that they are switching over the formatting of the All-Star Game. So they are moving away from the stereotypical two teams with a captain, and then everybody's voted in outside of that. they're now doing a tournament style where there will be several teams of players that'll have 8 guys, and you got to win a tournament. And one of those teams will be composed of rookies and sophomores from the Rising Stars game. So we will see how that looks. It's up in the air right now. We have no idea who's going to be playing on what team or what the rules are for that. But it's intriguing enough, and it makes it a little bit easier to say, oh, well, I think this guy could be an all-star player that could just get picked based on their stats. So we'll start in the East, and Jack, I'll let you kick it off, and we'll go guards, and then we'll go big men. Who is one guard in the East that you think should just be an automatic, lockdown, guaranteed, you're an all-star, you're going to be there in Golden State in February?
Yeah, obviously this team has been very up and down. They had a terrible start to the year, but they've done well to bounce back. They've got themselves into the playoff mix. That's the Milwaukee Bucks I'm referring to. And obviously, talking about the guards, I'm gonna say Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has, despite the Bucks' form, whatever it's been very consistent. He's had an excellent season. He's averaging almost a career high in assists per game at just over 8.8 assists per game. And of course, there's 26 points to go along with it. He's still shooting about just over 37% from free, 45, 37, 92 splits. So Damian Lillard's my first lock.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a great choice. I mean, I've got my list here in front of me, and he's number 2 on my list for guards that should automatically be in there. Number 1 for me, at least out of the East, I put LaMelo Ball. I think he is now injuries have plagued him, but when he's on the floor, he's great. And I think this year he is really he's taking a next step. Now, unfortunately, his team is not very good. They're not winning a lot of games, but he is playing lights out. I mean, he's a perennial 25 a night type of guy. He dishes the rock, and I think he just fits that all-star mold. And I mean, when you're making a $260 million contract, odds are everybody in the league is aware of your game. And I think he's really, really stepped it up this year, despite how bad his team is, like really bad. But LaMelo Ball is going to be my first lock. All right. What is another guard for you that you think should be a lock in the East? The East was tough for me because you have like your core, I would say 4 to 5 guys, and then it gets dicey after that. It gets a little thin, but who you got for your next guard?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Honestly, after even LaMelo was because of the injuries, he's still out right now. He still doesn't have an exact timetable, but he is getting reevaluated in the next coming days. So I think he should be good, in which case, absolutely, he'll be a lock because he's been phenomenal despite the Charlotte Hornets being the Charlotte Hornets. So the only other lock guard I have, even though he's been having a relatively slow start to the season for his standards, especially based on last year, is Jalen Brunson. He's still averaging around at 25 points per game. He's been getting up there recently with his points. Has been playmaking well, and the Knicks are a good team. Outside of those 3, it's team success, it's injuries that are plaguing these other guys. So, JC, valid. So Jalen Brunson's my other lock out East.
Okay. Yeah, and I have him on my list as well, just because it feels like he's made enough of name for himself that it feels like he's probably just going to be in the mix for that every single year, just because he's a floor spreader and he's so good at being a solid point guard for you. This next one's a bit of a toss-up for me, but it could work. I actually had Cade Cunningham. He's putting up a triple-double a night, it seems like. And if they want to put Cade Cunningham in there, he's good, man. He's a big guard, and he's finally healthy. The Pistons aren't as bad as they were last year, so it only goes up from rock bottom, I guess. They're still not great by any means, but they're better than they were, I guess. And I think that's because of Cade Cunningham's play. And I think that should be recognized that he could be a solid pick and roll guy. He can shoot the 3 ball, and he does a little bit of everything. So why not Cade Cunningham? So that's my other lock. Is there anybody like one of the other 3 names I had on my list were Trae Young, just because he's almost like Steph Curry, where it's like, all right, deep 3-ball shooter. Everybody knows the name. He's probably going to get voted in just because of name. And then I had Tyler Hero as an honorable mention. He's playing very well. He'll probably get snubbed. I've seen him on snub lists. And then Donovan Mitchell, again, a guy that is just a perennial name now in the NBA, and he backs up his play a little bit, and the Cavs are really, really good this year. So those are 3 other honorable mention guards for me, at least. Is there anybody else that maybe is kind of on a fringe for you?
Yeah, but firstly, I'm so sorry, my internet is bugging. So if it's if you can't hear me properly, that's my bad. This internet.
No, you're good. It's on a bit of a delay, so I'm kind of like.
But
okay.
you mentioned Donovan Mitchell. Absolutely, the Cavs. Yeah. It's all right. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell is absolutely a lock. I don't know why I didn't say that, but he's the best player on the best team in the league. That's always at least an all-star, and it would be a travesty if Cleveland didn't have at least one. So Donovan Mitchell's a lock for me, and even Darius Garland's possibly in there as well, back for the first time in a couple of years potentially. You say Tyler Hero is another great name. Another name I had on here that I haven't heard much buzz about for All-Star. He has been incredibly good at home and kind of bad on the road. His team is not very good on paper. Like, record-wise, they don't have a good record. But they are in these games a lot of the time, and these are good losses for a team that's tanking. So, RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett's the name. He has been averaging 23 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, been the best player on the Raptors when Scotty Barnes been out a lot of the season. He's been keeping him in this game. His playmaking has been awesome this year. It's been amazing to watch that development from him. So RJ Barrett's another name on that list for me. But again, I think he probably just misses the cut.
Yeah, I definitely think he could just miss out if these other guys are healthy and kind of get in there. Yeah, the delay is crazy, folks. And I think I've said this every episode. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. Jack is in New Zealand. Like he's in a completely different part of the world. It is around 1 p.m. Local time for him Saturday. It is 7 o'clock Friday night for me. So trying to get this internet delay, a little bit of a suspense here, but we love it. And clearly JC loves the delay as well. So, but let's get into the big men here. I'll start off here. First one right out of the gate has to be Giannis, right? I mean, there shouldn't be any ifs, ands, or buts about it. Giannis is probably, you could throw him in as a team captain, to pick one of these teams for the tournament or for the tournament. So that is the easy one that I'll just go ahead and throw out there first as far as big men in the East is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who is one of your big men locks?
My first big man lock is another New York Knick, Karl-Anthony Towns. He got traded, obviously, from Minnesota in the offseason, and he has been balling, having a career year. It feels like 25, 13 and a half rebounds is, I think, second in the league right now. And 5.5 assists. Sorry, 3 assists. He's second in the league in double-doubles, shooting 44% from free, for a center, which again is it's just Karl Anthony Towns, and that's what makes him such a good player. How he can space the floor like that. 55, 43, 88 splits. So yeah, Karl Anthony Towns absolutely a lock.
Oh yeah, I agree. He was number one on my
In the
list
future.
outside of Giannis. Yeah, and JC's blown away that Jack is in the future and is ahead of the game here. But my next one, and I'm only throwing him in as a big man just because small forward is weird. Jason Tatum, I think, as far as in the East, is someone that you have to say it could be another team captain or could pair up with someone like Giannis if he's not a team captain. That would be crazy. But Jason Tatum has to be one of those names that is a lock for a big man, aka small forward, that in between guy, that three ball guy. So after that, it gets a little dicey. Is there anybody else that is a lock for you as far as big men? The only other name that I can tell you as far as big men, maybe Nikola Vucevic or Jakob Pertl. I had a tie between those two. It was Vucevic and Jakob Pertl just because of how they're playing this year.
Yep, Vucevic has had a career revival. Just hitting his threes again, which he hasn't done in a couple seasons, basically since he's been in Chicago. So obviously the Chicago Bulls still aren't great, but that's really nice to see from their for their fans. Again, it's a popularity contest at the end of the day a lot of the time, so I'm not sure if Vucevic makes it. Same thing with Pertl, never been an all-star, never really been in consideration. So despite how much I love Jakob Pertl and how great he's been playing, again, that's questionable because you got guys like Bam Adebayo who have not been playing at an all-star level, but they've been an all-star before. The people know who they are, so it'll be interesting when the votes actually come to see who makes it as a big man. Outside of those guys, Evan Mobley is damn near a lock for me. Again, he's on the best team in the league. He's one of the best defenders in the league this season, and his points per game have shot up. He's been more active in the Cavs offense, and that's led to them winning a lot of games. And his teammate too. I know it's a lot of Cavs I've talked about, but they're the best team in the league for a reason. Jared Allen, who has been sensational defensively, and him and Donovan Mitchell are one of the best pick and roll pairings in basketball. So I think absolutely he deserves consideration as well.
No, yeah, absolutely. Now for the last one, I titled this category as question marks. These are guys, that have had injuries that might just cut them off from being like, oh, you should be in the All-Star game. Well, maybe they missed too many games or something like that. The first name that comes up for me is Paolo Banchero. Made his first All-Star game last year. But that's another one of those names, if you're talking about a popularity contest that, people want to see in the All-Star game just because of who he is and how well he plays when he's healthy, is Paolo Banchero. And then next name I had was Franz Wagner. He just got hurt. If he comes back and he continues the level he was at, then yeah, I think Franz Wagner could be that could be a guard guy that could slip in there if they needed him. And then Jaylen Brown. He gets so overshadowed sometimes by the aura of Jason Tatum and the Celtics that, if he can slip in there too, I could see if Tatum becomes a captain of a team, Jaylen Brown is probably a lock. I mean, he might just say, yeah, instantly I'm bringing my teammate in there and he'll be on an all-star team. But is there anybody like that kind of is a gray area question mark for you in the East?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head with Franz Wagner. Unfortunately, like with a torn oblique, it's the same injury that Paolo had, so I don't think he'll be back for quite a while, which unfortunately is going to cut him out, which is a shame because he was going crazy while Paolo was out. So for the Magic to have no All-Stars would be kind of crazy, considering how good they've been this year. But it's a very real possibility, unfortunately, just because of the injuries. A guy on that list, I know JC said the Sixers organization should be banned from the All-Star game. While I don't necessarily disagree with that, but Tyrese Maxey has been really good again this year, so I think he deserves a nod if he's played enough games by that time, which hopefully he will. He is back now. He did miss just a little bit of time, so I think even though the Sixers are god awful, he's been the rock while Paul George and Embiid have been on holiday doing absolutely nothing.
No, yeah, and I mean Embiid did come back. He played the other night, and was back in action. So I mean, if Embiid is healthy again, unfortunately, if you're talking about a popularity contest, maybe he makes it in there. But I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Embiid.
Yeah, big question mark. And Maxey, I mean, JC agrees with you. So, yeah, and he agrees to boo everybody else on that Sixers team too. But I mean, Embiid is a big question mark just because it's like, all right, well, do you let him in? Do you only go off of because of he's Joel Embiid? He's a former MVP. Action, yeah, you know what? You're right, JC. Action is a bit of a stretch. It is. It's a bit of a stretch. But all right, I think that's a pretty good group for the East. I really do. I mean, that's a solid lineup. The East was a lot more difficult to put together than the West, which is why I wanted to start there. And clearly we're 22 minutes in. And...
one more name.
No, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
One more name that I did mention him earlier, but Jalen Johnson, he's averaging just under 20 points per game. I think over 8 rebounds per game. He's having an awesome season. He's been fantastic defensively. And I think considering he's had no injuries and the Hawks are above 500, he deserves to be an all-star too. And his teammate Trae Young, we talked about him, but he's averaging good numbers. He's second in the league in assists per game. But unfortunately for him, he is shooting 38% from the field, which for all-star voting probably won't matter too much, but that is like shockingly low. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But then again, in a NBA of today where it's 3-and-D, I mean, if you're shooting anything above 30%, then they probably slide that number a little bit away from eyesight and say, all right, we'll move on. Go the next night. But yeah, Jalen Johnson is another guy. Yeah, that's a good kind of sleeper pick of somebody that could really benefit on an all-star team if they want him. So we'll see. All right, so the East is done. On to the West. This one was a lot easier at least for me personally, just because a lot of superstars that used to be in the East are now in the West. So popularity contest is going to be big time in the West. I'll start it off easy. Luka Doncic was the first name that I wrote down guard-wise. I mean, you have to, right? He could easily be a captain for one of these teams. So Luka Doncic for me. Who's your first lock?
We're just doing guards or just...
Yeah, we'll start guards, yeah.
Guards, okay, then Shea. Shea, 30 points per game, 6 assists, 5.5 rebounds, 1.8 steals, shooting over 50% as a guard. You know, it speaks for himself. OKC at a 1 seed. They have been the 1 seed for ages. That's it, without a question.
Oh, yeah. Zero doubt there. I mean, he's in the MVP running. Top 3, last I saw on the ladder race, Jokic 1, Giannis 2, Shea 3. So, yeah, he's got to be in there. Next guard for me, popularity contest here, but he has had a bit of getting his team revived, is Steph Curry. I mean, again, it's Steph Curry. you don't. It's kind of like LeBron. He's hitting that stretch where it's like, all right, how much more time do you realistically have with Steph Curry being Steph Curry? I don't really agree that he's running out of too much gas. He has slowed down. He has regressed, but it's Steph Curry. You got to put him in the All-Star game. It's like another switch flips every time he's in that game where he makes pretty much everything beyond half court. So you got to throw him in there. So Steph Curry was my next lock. Who do you have for yours?
Yep. It's interesting about Steph too because he's only averaging 22 points per game, which is like, it's a pretty down year for a guy of Steph Curry's tenure. But if you watch Warrior games, if you're not just looking at the box score, you can see the impact he makes on that team. Obviously, the best player on that team, why they're winning games. They've been in a little bit of a slump recently, but they're still a top 4 seed as we speak. So he absolutely deserves to be in there. He's still shooting the ball incredibly well. But yeah, getting older. So we'll see how much longer his all-star reign goes for. The next card was tough, honestly, man. Like, I want it to be teams that are good. I don't want to reward bad teams. So while I love a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who's averaging 26 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 1.7 steals, shooting just over 48% from the field. It's hard to put him in there because the Kings are 13-13 right now, literally sitting at 500. So he was technically the next guy on my list, but it's a question mark for the Kings. If they can get themselves into a top 8 seed by All-Star break, then I think surely he makes it, but we'll have to see. Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah, that's a good pick. My next one that I had, I think, was Anthony Edwards, a popularity contest pick, probably for the most part. But he's entertaining. He's high flying. He's an ISO ball guy. ISO ball is what they love to do in the All-Star game. So, I mean, Anthony Edwards, I think, was an automatic one that I put on there just because he's going to fit that mold of All-Star game lineup. And he likes talking trash. And I think there's going to be a lot of trash talk in this tournament style between these guys because now, I mean, you have a trophy per se on the line type thing. So the trash talk is going to increase. And I think he's the best trash talker in the league. So why not lock him in for that one? Is there anybody else guard-wise that you have for a lock in the West? I have 2 more names.
Yeah, I mean, my only other lock name is Devin Booker, who has the stats to back up, even though his team's been on a downward spiral since KD got injured. But it's still Devin Booker. He's still averaging 25 points per game, and he's playmaking again really well as he did last year. So I think he still deserves a nod, despite Phoenix being a shell of their former team without KD there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the other 2 names that I had were Kyrie, popularity contest. It's Kyrie Irving, another good ISO ball type guy, and then James Harden as well. James Harden has had a quietly good year in LA with how that team is kind of shaped out again. He is the center of that team. He is the focus of that team, and I think he's had a pretty decent year. The Clippers are in contention in the West still. So I would say Kyrie and Harden were my only other 2 guards where I could say, I could definitely see them being locks popularity contest wise. And you just know they back it up with their stats. Kyrie just happens to play on the same team as Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson. So he doesn't have to score 25, 30 a night like he might have had to do in Cleveland back in the day to try to beat the Steph Curry Warriors. He just doesn't have to be that, but it's Kyrie, so why wouldn't you put him in there? All right, on to the big man. This one's easy.
Yeah.
I'll start out again right away. Nikola Jokic. I mean, duh. He's leading the MVP race right now, triple-double guy every night. Absolutely crazy that him and Russell Westbrook are like 30% of the triple-doubles in league history right now, and they're on the same team. So it's fun to watch those two together. Despite Denver has not played great basketball in every game. They really haven't. They've lost a lot of big games, and so we'll see what happens. But yeah, Jokic I think is my number one. Absolutely has to be a lock. How about you?
Yeah. My lock, and he might not be a starter if it's fan voted, so I think he'll get in on the reserves, but he absolutely needs to be in there as a first-time All-Star, I believe. Alperen Sengun. The Rockets are the 2 seed out west. He's the best player on that team. That kind of just speaks for itself. The stats don't jump out of the page at you with Sengun. He's only averaging about 19.8 points per game. Obviously rebounding the ball well. He's been a much improved defender, especially at rim protection this year, which is really a main reason why the Rockets have skyrocketed in the standings this year. So that's awesome to see that progression defensively from him. And that's about there is to it. Obviously, he's a great playmaker. Baby Jokic, they call him. So yeah, that's a lock for me.
Okay. No, yeah, and I had him on my list too. He wasn't near the top, but I have him on there as a lock just because of his play. And you take him away from the Rockets, and there's definitely a lot of games I don't think they win without his play. The second lock that I had for big men was Anthony Davis. He's having a phenomenal year. He's getting back to that scoring form that he had kind of regressed away from for several seasons. I would say 2020 was the last time we saw this level of scoring at this high of a clip, at least from Anthony Davis. So that's why he's got to be on there for me. I mean, the Lakers, I don't think, have very many locks this year, which is why it's impressive to see what Anthony Davis is doing because he's keeping the Lakers in every game. Especially right now with all the LeBron crap that's going on where he's not in game. He's not playing right now. He's away from the team, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Anthony Davis, yeah, it has to be a lock for me.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Can't disagree with that. Okay, so my second lock is the league leader in blocks this season. He's missed some games recently, but as long as he stays healthy until the All-Star break from now, he will be absolutely in there. As a first-time All-Star again, he's got a couple first-timers here. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama is who I'm talking about. 3.6 blocks per game or something like that. So he is dominating defensively. He's first in Defensive Player of the Year rankings right now, absolutely deservedly so, while also averaging 23.5 points per game on an improved Spurs team too. So they're sitting at 500 as well. They're the 11 seed right now, but 500 for the 11 seed. They're really only a couple of games out of the 5 seed because the West is so congested. So obviously, I don't think the Spurs are going to get up to the 5 seed, but like you never know. Literally, it's all within a few games. So Wembanyama's my second lock.
Oh yeah, and that was the third name on my list. Even if he's scoring like 10 points a game, and he's not doing everything that he is right now, I think he still gets in simply because of who he is. I mean, and here real quick. Anthony, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning into the show. I'm going to show your LeBron comments here in a second because he's on my question mark list, and all those things will fit a little bit better when we get to that part. I will show your comments because they're absolutely wild, man. I'll get to them. But yeah, Wemby's third on my list. The last name that I had, and this is your boy out of Sacramento, I did have Domantas Sabonis on there. Guy's a great player. He's a double-double guy every night. He has cemented himself as a perennial all-star. The same level that his dad was at back in the day for the Blazers. He's playing that high level of basketball, and he deserves to be in there no matter what. I think he should be a lock. If you're going to have a big man or a big man on your team and you don't get the name Jokic, Anthony Davis, or Wemby, might as well be Sabonis. You know he's going to be good for you in a game. So any other big men that you had outside of the 5 that we just talked about?
No, not at all. Speaking on Sabonis though, like it's another thing. Like he got absolutely snubbed last year because of the name thing, the popularity contest. It's never going to be a good thing for Sabonis for some reason. He is not, very liked in NBA fandom. I mean, I can see why. I'll be honest, but the fact of the matter is he has been one of the best big men out west or just in the NBA in general. So he deserves that absolutely. He's leading the league in double doubles with 22. He's got 4 triple doubles. He had 32 and 20 last night in the win versus Pelicans. So I think absolutely he deserves that nod.
Yeah, 100%. All right, now to the question marks, and this is where Anthony, all your comments will come into play. I'll get this one out of the way first. Durant was a question mark for me just because of injuries. If he comes back and he's healthy by late February, it's Kevin Durant. It's a popularity contest thing. But when he was playing, I mean, Durant was having a really, really solid year for Phoenix. There were MVP talks for him early on. I know I personally said that on this show, that he is in any kind of MVP running earlier on before he got hurt, and then he got hurt. So that really cut away at that whole conversation. But he was kind of my first question mark on there just because it's going to depend on his health overall. Is there anybody that you had a question mark on that is not named LeBron James?
Yeah, actually, not so much a question mark because of health, even though he did just come back from injury. But you mentioned James Harden. I think the Clippers deserve an All-Star because they've been surprisingly good this year. But I think if there's going to be an All-Star on that team, it should be Norman Powell. James Harden, while he's been playmaking the ball fantastically well, he's another guy like Trae Young. He's shooting under 38% from the field. Which it's not good. It's very bad. Even though they've been winning basketball games, you could argue he's been the best player on that team overall, even though he's been shooting the ball poorly. But I think Norman Powell having the resurgence he's had, averaging over 23.5 points per game, is an awesome story. And he's shooting the skin off the ball. I think he's shooting 45% from free. So while he doesn't do much of anything else, he's been a solid defender as well. I think Norman Powell deserves a mention, even though based on being not a superstar in this league, never been an All-Star before, he might not get the votes from the fans.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And we bring this up every time Norman Powell's talked about, but I mean, Ochai, when we had him on the show, he said Norman Powell's one of the toughest players that he's had to guard just because he's a tough bucket getter. So, yeah, it speaks to the name. It really does. He backs up his play. So, yeah, that's a good name. So, obviously, the only other question mark is LeBron. Now, I don't want to get too much into detail of it. I'll start showing the comments here just because they're absolutely hilarious and out of left field. Well, not really out of left field. But so if you didn't know, just go on Twitter, go look it up. LeBron has been LeBron's name has been tied back into the whole Diddy thing because there is literally a video clip of LeBron saying, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party," and now it's just backfiring on him. And clearly, Anthony is ready for LeBron to go down in flames, which is crazy because LeBron's the face of the NBA, man. But these comments are crazy, bro. These comments are absolutely insane. I appreciate you commenting because that helps with our algorithm and everything. Yeah, he was the man in Toronto. Absolutely. Norman Powell was 100% a baller in Toronto. But as far as LeBron goes, yeah, man, it's a question mark because he's not playing right now. He stepped away from the team. He stepped away from social media. He's not attending key events. Like, it's just not there. And so it's a big question mark whether LeBron is going to be playing in the All-Star game. Not stats get thrown out for LeBron. I mean, he's played in 20 plus All-Star games. LeBron's going to be there no matter what if all this shit wasn't going on, right? So it's just crazy to think that someone of his status, and that has always been kind of the number one thing about LeBron, is that he doesn't get into trouble. He never got caught up in shit. The baddest thing that he ever did was in high school when he signed a jersey at a sports collectible store, and he was ineligible for the state championship game. Like, that's the worst thing he's ever done. But now all this is coming out. So it's just wild to think that somebody like him and his praise for not getting in trouble is now just wrapped up in all of this crap, I would say. And that was the biggest question mark for me was, can he get his name pulled away from all of that and say, hey, look, I was not involved with the bad stuff. Get my name out of there. Yeah, and Anthony, you're right. He quit social media, and it could be longer. Yeah, you're right. That's what makes it scary is when someone says, oh, I'm not involved, but then they take their leave and they drop off the face of the earth, and it's LeBron James. Like, he can't drop off the face of the earth, right? So it's just crazy that that's the point he's at now as LeBron James, the face of the NBA, arguably the greatest player to ever touch a basketball, is, yeah. Anthony, you keep firing these off, bro. Yeah, happy to say there's nothing like a Diddy party, man.
And this is the biggest level.
Wow. It's crazy that it's wrapped up like this. It really is, and it'll be a big-ass question mark, a really, really big-ass question mark if LeBron is going to be playing in the All-Star game in the Bay Area. Was there anybody else that you have a question mark on that you say, maybe, gray area? I know you said Norman Powell, but were there any others that kind of fall into that maybe area for you?
Not that come to mind immediately, but I think LeBron's a lock. You know, like you said with Curry, it's LeBron. He's gonna be there. If he doesn't, you know, if he plays no more games until the All-Star break, then maybe he'll be ineligible. I don't know. If he's eligible, he will be at the All-Star game, and he'll probably be a captain because it's LeBron, and everybody loves LeBron, especially me. I love me some I love me some LeBron James. I'll go lie. Now, obviously, it's been a lot of rumors. It's been a lot of talking. At the end of the day, yeah, I personally am going to give the man the benefit of the doubt because, like you said, he's been 20 years of being an, squeaky clean. He's been evidently a good family man and all that. So I'm not gonna judge LeBron's character until there's some evidence out there. But as a player, if we're basing it off his play this season, he is an all-star. Let's keep it true to what it is. So, yeah, that's my take.
Oh, yeah, 100%. If you throw out outside of basketball, I mean, the guy's doing things at 40 that nobody else is ever going to do. period. Like there's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. That it's wild, man. It's wild that he's getting tied up into this. But yeah, he's 100% all-star. That will be there if he can get all this stuff put aside, get it wiped away. He'll be there, no matter what. There's no question about it. And Anthony, why do you? That's a heavy topic, brother. That is a heavy topic. Man, that might require like an entire other show.
Answer.
That is a. I'll put it back up so we
for a while.
I could go on and on about this one. That might require an entire other show, because we are 45 minutes in, and I don't know if it's time for a tangent or not. But man, it's crazy. That's all. Simple. It's crazy to watch because Caitlin Clark is a baller, man. She is. She's one of those talents that just takes your league from here to here, and there's no doubt about that. So, yeah, Anthony, you're more than welcome to tune in for that episode if we get to that point, if we can do that and discuss that. That is just a heavy topic, especially to follow up talk about Diddy and LeBron, and talk about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and the racism going on. Man, tough topics to talk about at 7:34 on a Friday night here on the Putback, or at 2 p.m. on a Saturday if you're Jack in the future. Yeah. Anthony, you'll have to tune in for that. That's a tough one. I don't know if I have a full-blown answer for that. Oh, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could, brother. And that's great. Keep commenting on the show and make sure you tune back in. I promise if there's any topics like that we can get to and we have time and you're commenting on the show, we will try to discuss those with you. But let's go ahead and close it out here. Jack, I mean, I'm very confident in these all-star teams. I don't know how you're feeling. I'll get your final thoughts here real quick, and we'll talk about this again over the next couple months. But final thoughts on the tournament style of the All-Star game. You know, how are you feeling about that before we close out the show?
Like I said last episode, Adam Silver's done fantastic things with this league as far as adding in the in-season tournament, which we can see right now has been a huge success. The play-in, which has been a huge success. So I'm not gonna doubt it until I can see that it's not working. But yeah, I gotta give him benefit of the doubt because it's been the same story the last 4 or 5 years that it's not competitive and it's boring at the All-Star game. So we had to see some change. So there's no harm in trying. It's no harm in trying something.
No, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I'm very excited for the tournament style. It's going to be different, and it maybe that is the final product that they need for the All-Star weekend that takes the interest of the NBA to that next level, because it is falling off. The ratings are dipping for the NBA. You got to do something. Why not switch it up for one of the most popular weekends of your league by far, except for the NBA Finals? And I would even say the All-Star game has passed that, at least for me. But that'll do it for this week's show. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go follow Jack on his social medias. They're on the screen right there, Jack_McKinnon, or you can go find him on X, Kings_things916. And then, of course, go check out his written stuff, all of his articles over on StadiumRant.com, and all of our shows, everything that we got dropping all week long, every day here at StadiumRant.com. So much to look forward to. NBA All-Star Game is approaching, still a couple months out, but basketball is continuing. The NBA Cup finals are coming up here over the next couple of days, so that'll be a fun one. Make sure you tune into all of that. But always and forever, man, basketball is amazing, and we love to talk about it, and we'll be here hopefully every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's the new time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll be talking some hoops with you. So thank you for tuning in. Anthony, thank you for commenting on the show tonight. Shout out to JC as well. But good night, everybody, and thank you for tuning in.